More strikes by the U.S. military in the Eastern Pacific has added to growing tensions at home and abroad as Washington steps up its pressure on Venezuela. On Wednesday, the U.S. military said it attacked a boat accused of smuggling drugs, killing 4 people. The U.S. Southern Command described the vessel as being operated by narco-terrorists along a known trafficking route. And while no evidence was publicly released, the military shared a video showing a boat speeding through water moments before a large explosion. The latest incident brings the total number of confirmed boat strikes to 26, with at least 99 people killed, according to figures released by the Trump administration. President Trump has defended the campaign as a necessary escalation to stop drugs from entering the United States, arguing the country is now in an armed conflict with drug cartels.
Getting land, oil rights, whatever we had, they took it away because we had a president that maybe wasn't watching. But they're not going to do that. We want it back. They took our oil rights. We had a lot of oil there. As you know, they threw our companies out, and we want it back.
However, the White House is facing mounting scrutiny from Congress. Lawmakers have questioned both the legal basis and the conduct of the operations, especially after an early September strike included a follow-up attack that killed 2 people clinging to the wreckage of a destroyed boat. Doubling down, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the Pentagon would not release unedited video footage of the strikes despite growing demands from lawmakers. In response, Republicans and Democrats in the Senate agreed on language in the defense spending bill that would withhold 25% of Hegseth's travel budget until unedited footage and authorization orders are shared with congressional committees.
They're not allowing us to see it. And if they could edit all the other videos that Secretary Hegseth he liked, they can sure as hell edit this one. And so again, Secretary Hegseth is showing his deep disdain for members of Congress, his disrespect for members of the military and the rule of law and the rules of war and engagement. And so we will continue to press this issue. Thank you.
Republican leaders, however, showed support for President Trump's approach. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said he wouldn't object to regime change in Venezuela, calling President Nicolas Maduro a cancer on that continent.
So the job that this task force has been given by the administration, which is to eliminate the flow of drugs into this country, is working, and everything they're doing is legal. So they have my full support.
Tensions have escalated even further after President Trump announced what he called a total and complete blockade of all sanctioned oil tankers entering or leaving Venezuela.
Just a blockade. We're not going to let anybody going through that shouldn't be going through. You remember they took all of our energy rights. They took all of our oil from not that long ago, and we want it back. But they took it. They illegally took it.
However, Caracas dismissed the threat, saying oil exports were continuing as normal. The state oil company said tankers linked to its operations were sailing securely.
Venezuela will continue trading all its products in keeping with the spirit of the libertarian generation that rose up against the Guipuzcoana company. Trade in and out will continue our oil and all our natural wealth that by the Constitution and Bolivar's legacy belongs our wealth, our land, and our oil to its only legitimate owner, which for centuries and centuries has been our sovereign people of Venezuela, the absolute owner of the land, subsoil, and all its wealth.
Venezuela relies heavily on oil exports and has been under a U.S. oil embargo since 2019. And while sanctions initially slashed exports, Venezuela has since rebuilt shipments to around 920,000 barrels per day, largely by using a shadowy ghost fleet of tankers. These vessels often change names and flags, disable tracking systems, steal identities of scrapped ships, and transfer oil at sea to hide its origin. Similar fleets are also used by both Russia and Iran. And the recent U.S. seizure of a sanctioned tanker off Venezuela's coast carried out from the USS Gerald signals a tougher phase in enforcement. Venezuela's allies, however, including China, have condemned what they call U.S. bullying, while the United Nations is urging restraint. And with more strikes, tighter blockades, and rising political pressure, the question now is whether this campaign remains limited or becomes the opening chapter of a much larger confrontation.
I was born into privilege, but I sold myself as the voice of the poor. I led a revolution in the mountains and marched into Havana as a hero. I promised freedom, equality, dignity. What I built was a one-party state. I survived invasions, embargoes, and enemies, but my people survived shortages in silence. Some called me El Comandante. History calls me something else. A dictator. Who am I?